6:30, and good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Wolfeboro Budget Committee. It's November 16th, 2020. And tonight we'll be discussing the welfare, animal control, police department, and communications budget.
And the meeting number?
Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order number 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. However, the committee has decided to proceed with hybrid meeting format, allowing for members of the public and board to attend and participate in the meeting in person or virtually. In accordance with RSA 91-A:2(3), the board has, what do we have for current members on line 4? What? Current members on line 4, Leanne?
What?
4 current members online.
I don't have my computer. It was 3.
Go ahead and take it. I can't hear her. Not coming through.
1, 2, 3. All right, I'm working on your computer. Great.
Okay, we have 3 members joining the meeting remotely, which is a public body has the authorization to allow. At this time, I'd like to take a roll call vote of all members present. For those participating virtually, please indicate if you have any other individuals present in the room with you. Paul O'Brien.
I'm present. Thank you.
Linda Murray.
I'm here in a room by myself.
Bob Tuffer.
Yes, good evening. I'm here in a room by myself.
Bob Lohman. Here. Steve Johnson.
Here.
Matt Planche.
Here.
Bob Mulholland.
Here.
Tom Bell.
Here in my home office alone.
John Burt.
Here.
Brian Black.
Here.
And myself, John McDonald, is here. Votes taken during this meeting will be via roll call vote of all members. In accordance with emergency order number 12, for members of the public, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or electronic means through a GoToMeeting. All members of the public and board have the ability to communicate continuously during this meeting through the GoToMeeting platform, and the public has access to continuously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following number: 1-571-317-3122, followed by the audio access code of 888-209-605, or by video at https://global.gotomeeting.com/join/888-209-605. Providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, we previously gave notice to the public of how to access this meeting in person or using the GoToMeeting, and instructions are provided on the Town of Wolfeboro website at wolfeboro.nh.us on the virtual town meeting login information page. Providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or computer, please immediately call 603-486-2692 or email hendrickson.leean@gmail.com. In the event that the public is unable to access this meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at this time. Okay, it's my understanding Mr. Pinio won't be joining us today. And we have Kathy Carpentier. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
That's correct. Thank you.
And Kathy's our new finance director. I don't know if you folks have had a chance to meet her yet.
Welcome.
Okay, let's first take a look at the welfare budget. And I guess Amy's with us?
I'm here.
Okay, great, thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
Okay, the 100 series, it's part-time wages. 200 series. 300 series. The 600 series. $800 series.
I have several questions, John.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Direct assistance and rent. Back in 2018, this is the last time we had any good figures for what was expended. 2018, $60,641 were expended here. And I see now we're down 20,000 from that number. And I'm wondering why. Are there fewer people that we're helping with rent or not?
Well, it varies from year to year, and it's very unpredictable. Surprisingly, this year we had COVID, and you'd think my numbers would be up, but Carroll County got a lot of state funding from the Housing Relief Program. So folks could get a maximum of $2,500 to help them with COVID expenses, none of which I had to cover. And as far as I know, it hasn't run out yet. So we've been very lucky with that, and it included utilities as well. But it's just an unpredictable thing. I can't predict what's gonna happen and who's gonna need help and how much they're gonna need. Sometimes somebody's mortgage can blow my budget if they owe $15,000. You know, it just depends.
Thank you.
Yeah, John?
Yes, sir.
I was thinking on the other side of that discussion, this thing's going to go on for a little bit, I would say, probably well into next year. And Amy, I'm wondering if you feel comfortable with that $10,000 reduction.
It's a hard thing to answer, Bob. I mean, we don't know how long this will go. We had the state funding, so when that goes away, we could have town funding. The only way that things would go sour is if we had a lot of people losing homes and had foreclosures. That's where I get a big lump. Usually with rent, you know, you can be anywhere from $600 to $1,200 for a monthly rent payment. But depending on what someone has for a mortgage, we do lien mortgages to get the funding back. I don't know. I don't know how to answer it, and based on my trends, I feel comfortable. It's just we have the black cloud of the pandemic.
Thank you, Amy. I'm good. We only spent $24,000 so far this year. I'm just a little concerned about money running out at upper levels and this thing going on for a while. But I'm good with it the way it is.
I will point out on the utility portion, we do have the Energy Committee put out a warrant article last year, and they've been actively, it's created the Warmth and More Fund. So it's already taken in private donations, which we'll use for utilities. So I will have that buffer in the utility section to use that private fund.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, did you have a question?
Well, I think they answered it here, John. I'm not sure. Still can't hear.
Amy, not to beat a dead horse, but is that 40,000 going to be enough in there, do you think, if things get bad?
I don't know.
John, you want a motion?
Well, I feel more comfortable to have a little bit too much because it's going to go back to the town anyhow, rather than not have enough. And like you, I'm concerned about when this is all going to get over with.
All right, I make a motion to bring that number back up to 50,000.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. This is a direct assistance rent?
Yes, that's who you wanted, Bob, right? Direct assistance rent?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to increase line 845 in the welfare budget, direct assist rent, by $10,000 for a new total of $50,000, and that'll be by a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
No.
Steve Johnson?
No.
Matt Planchi?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell?
Aye.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And myself, John McDonald, votes yes. And I believe that passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 to 2. Passes. Okay, let's move on. 800. I guess that's it for the welfare. Does the welfare director have any questions or wants to share anything with us tonight? Amy?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you for presenting your budget this evening. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next one is, let's go to animal control. Leanne, do we have anyone online for animal control?
No, oh, the Wolfeboro Community Conference room. So they're all online. Right here. Yes,
There's somebody for animal control? Okay.
they're unmuting them. You can speak to them. They should hear you.
Okay, I've been advised there's someone from the police department here to talk about animal control. Is that true?
Yep, we're all here, John.
Okay.
Commissioner, just for clarification, Commissioner Balboni will not be in attendance this evening. He was not feeling well. We've excused him from the meeting for this evening. In case anybody's wondering where he is.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Wood. Okay, let's do the 100 series.
I have a statement here. The approved budget for 2020 was $18,455. I don't know where this number 18,735 came from. But the book I have shows it at 18,455. Just a minor correction.
It's 18,735 was the approved budget.
If I can ask you a question, Chief, does these employees, do they get the 2% raise or whatever the other town employees get?
Yes.
Okay, even though this is, well, 2020, it shows 18,735, and this year it shows on your request 18,470. That's why I was wondering where the raise shows up. Shouldn't that number be higher than last year's?
Raises on in now. That's what we have on today's. 18,751. Who set out today?
So the 2%, I don't believe that on the budget you're looking at, the 2% has been added. But in answer to your question, with the town manager's approval of the 2% non-union employees, he would get that.
Okay.
John?
So what we should be showing here is 18,751.20. That's with the 2%.
Bob?
That's what I have. I don't know, do you have a different number other than the 18?
I have 18,470.
The number is his, he's correct.
18,751 is the one that's on there? Okay.
18,751 is the number.
Okay, I have 18,470. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. 200 series.
Excuse me, did we make a change to the 100 series on the total for the coming year?
I have on mine. You have 18,470, John? On your list?
18,751.
Yeah, that's the one you want. On my sheet, it shows 18,470.
What Bible are we working with now?
John, that was the one I gave you?
Yeah.
Okay, I obtained that from the police department back about 3 months ago, so something may have changed.
Okay.
Hey, John,
Yes, sir.
what's the, in the upper left-hand corner, do you have a run date on that?
Yeah, we've got that all squared away now. So everyone
Okay.
everyone else should show 18,751.20.
Correct.
Okay.
So what is it?
18,751.20.
20 cents?
What does someone have then on this sheet?
Just 18,751.
I have,
Okay, it should be 18,751, I'm sorry, stand corrected. 18,751 for number 117 of animal control.
okay, thank you.
Correct.
200 series. I just got one more quick question, sorry. Chief, on the part-time salaries, do you guys have, is someone on call for that?
24/7, the animal control officer is on call. It's a stipend position. If you want to call it a part-time position, it's a part-time position, whatever terminology you want to use. When he is on vacation, we have an agreement with the animal control officer in Ospey, who then will pick up duties and responsibilities, and then we reciprocate.
Okay, so we just have one animal control officer for Wolfeboro, and if he goes on vacation, then we have Ospey come in. Okay.
Yes, sir.
.200 series. .300 series. .600 series. .800 series.
Oh, I gotta show you, thank you.
Is this yours or not?
Just give it a minute here.
Do what you need to do.
You all set, John?
Try it.
Okay, that's it on the animal control budget. John, you okay? All right? Let's move on to communications. We'll just give it a minute here that John gets set up.
Go ahead.
Okay, John? All right. Okay, communications. .100 series.
That's your bedtime.
What's up, really?
Somebody got a question? $200 series. $300 series.
Yeah, I got a question on telephone 341 line. I'm looking at what was expended last year, what's expended so far this year, and I'm wondering why that request is so high. It doesn't seem to, it doesn't seem to justify that much.
Did you hear the question, Chief?
I didn't understand the question. Sorry, John. Couldn't hear it.
The question is, on line 341, telephone. When I
Yes.
look at 2019, I would look at year-to-date expenditure, and I'm looking at the request for the budget. That seems very high, and I'd like some justification for that.
So 341 went down $891. Is that correct? Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's a big 891, that's correct.
Yeah. So that's basically all the town phone lines in that, and no cell phones in that line. Line covers all telephone lines, which the town gives us that number.
I think he's questioning also the expenditure date is only 88, and we had budgeted 7,000
last year.
Yeah.
We spent less than 1,000 this year, according to this.
Yeah, the town pays that line.
Okay,
So what you may be seeing is that the billing hasn't caught up yet with that line.
Okay, thanks. Is the finance director here? So, question, I've never met you. I'm Steve. What's your name?
My name's Kathy Carpentier. I'm the finance director for the last 3 weeks.
So, obviously you have some figures to kind of figure what that should be. I mean, I'm just wondering, is the telephone is it changing that requires that much of a jump?
I'd have to take this as a follow-up item. This is the first time I've seen the budget. Again, I just started less than 3 weeks ago, so I see what you're seeing. The actuals are very low compared to the budget, so do you do like a comeback list? I can come back with your answers.
Okay. So I would like to, when we do that at the next meeting, John, I'd like to find out what that explanation is and make a motion at that time.
I would take that as an action.
John, do you have the 5-year average of that line?
What line is that?
It's line 341, communications.
Yes, 341.
Okay, I'll have to get out of this and get it for you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that those lines are what you call POTS lines, not the stuff you smoke. They're just plain old telephone service lines. So it's for Kathy, it's a price times quantity. There's an average price for a business line provided by probably Consolidated or First Light or whatever they use down there, times a monthly service fee.
Okay,
And so
That's correct. That is correct. I think the issue is that the billing hasn't simply caught up, and it will adjust itself at the end of the year. It always does.
Then I would expand on that question, why didn't it happen in 2019? Because I'm looking at $1,515.32 of actual expense for 2019, $1,095.27 for 2020. There is a certain consistency here.
What line
I need some explanation.
If I could have finished, what I would do is recommend a follow-up, because last year, to Bob Lohman's point, was far below the ask. It may have been, and I think there was some work done with the prior administration about changing telephone line billing. We may be catching it up at Town Hall and not passing it down to our friends at the police department. But if the lines are there, all those lines are there, then it's a P times Q. We just got to go find out where the Q is, or where the P is, I'm sorry. I'm done. Thank you.
John?
Thank you. Yes.
I think what happened last year was it was pulled out of the police budget into the communications budget. Can you hear me? I think what happened was it was pulled out of the police budget and put into the communications budget. There was a shift.
Something like that, Matt, happened. I remember that, because I remember there was a desire to get a better billing or a better service from the line. So this is just a follow-up on the line. Best thing to do. Thanks.
So the hard line, we pulled from the police budget into the communications.
So if we look at the police budget, we'd see a reduction there, correct?
You should. I would think so. Yeah.
Well, one can't happen without the other, Mike.
I haven't done the comparison.
Okay.
I remember the discussion last year, though.
Okay.
You're right. I do recall that. But I remember we were talking about that whole thing. Why don't we pull it all and put it in the communication budget?
So telephone, let's see,
But that would explain the change from 2019 to 2020.
2019, 2020, we don't have good numbers.
Gentlemen, that is why the 5-year average isn't going to work on this particular line.
The John shows John Birch shows the 5-year average as $1,282.
John?
Yes, Linda.
When I look at the police budget, they have spent 11,000 so far this year, and they were budgeted for 12. I think that the best thing to do is to revisit this line item. Something's going on here. Either we're allocating the cost to some other place, but something's not right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we had this last year. It was confused with cell phone, POTS lines, and all that kind of crazy stuff. So I'll revisit.
Okay.
So we'll leave it in your capable hands, Kathy, and the police department on that. Go ahead.
I would move that we review this line item at a later date when we have all the data.
I'm sorry, Bob, I can't
I
hear
would
you.
suggest a motion to review this line at a later date when we have all the detail back up.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't think we have to do, I don't think we need a motion. We usually do that as standard procedure.
Okay.
And you get back to us.
Fine.
I'll take it as an action,
John?
and you'll have an answer by next Monday.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, Bob?
No, Steve.
Okay,
I think just to try to give a better point of clarification, line items were just swapped around for better billing and business practice. And the hard lines, if you will, the landlines at the police department were moved into the communications budget, which is why you see an increase. What Selectman Murray is speaking of on the police side, that number is already well expended because that pays for the MDTs and the cruisers and the cell phones and all that. So we're not really comparing apples to apples there. There's two different phone uses, if you will, or types of technology being utilized between those two lines. Very similar to things being moved out and into other compensation for the purpose of streamlining the budget process. And what Chief Rondo spoke to as far as the communications, I guess the billing just hasn't come through yet to further extend the phone lines under the communications budget, but that will catch up.
Yeah, and that is a standard expense that's given to us by the finance department.
Okay, our finance
could I
director's
ask-
going to follow up with it, so we can move on, I think.
John, could I just ask one question? Are there any phone lines, hard lines in the police budget? Or are they all just,
Matt, you're looking at them. Oh, I'm sorry, this is in the communications budget. I don't think you're. We'll have to
Yes. So in the communications budget, all these lines that are listed out, and you see the phone numbers, those are lines for both dispatch and the police department, and then some of the other lines that we have, like the fax line, the intoxilizer, the prosecutor's line, the 911 lines. These are all different types of lines that are coming in. They're all hard lines. So these are all managed by central dispatch. That's why you see them in their budget, okay? And as the vice chair of the selectmen has said, this is a simple number. It's Q times P. That number is given to us. We plug it into the budget. It goes up or down based off of whatever service contract we have by whatever provider we use. So that number is given to us, we plug it into the budget. What happened last year that some of you gentlemen are alluding to, and this caused some discussion last year, if you all remember, is that we had, in some places we had MDTs, in some places we had cell phones. What we did is everything that dealt specifically with police department technology, such as an MDT that uses a cell phone to communicate, was placed in the police department budget, and everything that was managed by central dispatch got moved. And that's the conversation. We had this exact same conversation last year.
so, okay, just to clarify, does that mean there are no hard lines in the police budget? They're all in the communications budget?
Correct.
That is indeed correct.
Okay.
That's indeed correct.
Okay.
Okay, but what you also have to take into consideration too is that sometimes costs go up, sometimes costs go down. It depends on whatever the vendor is going to charge us. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Also keep in the back of your mind that last year was 53 weeks, this year is 52 weeks. So there are little expenses like that cause fluctuations up and down.
I'm sure our finance director will help us sort this all out with your information. Okay, let's move on to the 400 series. .500 series. .600.
I guess on this 680 safety equipment, which is really for the dispatch uniforms, that's gone up an awful lot, but that's in the contract. But it seems a little bit exorbitant.
What's the question?
I didn't hear, I can't hear the question, gentlemen.
What was it saying, exorbitant? It wasn't a question, it was a statement, the increase, but.
John Bird just wanted to bring it to your attention that it appears that the safety equipment line has gone up exorbitantly from previous years.
Yes.
Yes, I understand it, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Loma, did you have anything?
Well, back to the same issue. I'm looking at the 2019 actual expenses and the 2020 expended to date. 2019 was 1793 and change. 2020 so far is 1212, and we're looking for 2600. It makes no sense to me.
Do you have a motion you wanted to do?
I would like to bring it back to the approved budget for 2020.
It's a union contract?
Yeah, so some of that's a union contract, so that's guaranteed, that's money that comes through the guaranteed union. the collective bargaining.
Okay, there's a motion to bring it down to 2020, which is $2,050. Is there a second?
Second.
John?
Any discussion?
Yeah, John?
Yes.
It's the reason for a good portion of the hike was part of a union contract, and you know, I don't think it's any way legal to reduce that money.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
We also have to remember, too, that we are not near the end of the year yet, and the dispatchers may not have all have used their funding to acquire their uniforms for the year. So, again, this is a situation where it'll probably correct itself by the end of the year, and it won't be the disparity that we see here now.
Brian, did you have something?
Are the dispatchers given a cash amount every year and charged buying their own uniforms, or is it the town buying uniforms?
According to the collective bargaining agreement, Brian, you should have the backup data in your packet. Full-time dispatchers covered by the union get $250 for the year. The part-timers that are covered get much per year. And then we have a new dispatcher to outfit them. To the initial outfitting is $500. So that came to $2,600.
Again, is that a budgeted amount, or is that an amount that is paid to the individual?
No, it's not paid. No, it's not paid to the individual. They have that much money to use that year. If they don't use it, it goes back to the town at the end of the year, the budget.
Whatever isn't expended goes back to general fund, but there's no cash money's exchanging hands. Purchase orders are written for the uniform purchases, as with everything else, so that it can be tracked. And you know, that's again, there's no money changing hands. They just procure the uniform or uniform equipment, and then some paperwork.
So the
John,
I
there's a table in here that specifies the allowance for union dispatchers, part-time dispatchers, and new dispatcher outfitting. Is all of that covered by the union contract?
Dispatch fitting is not. What's that? The new dispatch fitting is not. No.
The only thing that is not covered is the new dispatcher, outfitting a new dispatcher.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion concerning line 680 of safety equipment?
Yes. I
Go ahead,
want some
Bob.
clarification. Did I hear somebody say that if the dispatchers that have this clothing allowance do not use the clothing allowance, it goes back to the general fund? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, you did, sir. That is correct. It goes back to the general fund. It doesn't get spent.
We got to be careful here. This is all general fund. Now,
what?
The big thing here is they can use the money any place they want, as long as they don't bust their bottom line. So if they don't spend it in uniforms, they can spend it on some other things that they haven't identified.
That's what I'm getting at.
Uniforms only. Yeah.
That's what I'm
No,
getting at.
that's not correct. We can't use money that's been specified for the uniforms or anything under the union contract for other purchases.
Now, I see a 5-year average of less than $1,000 here.
That's my point.
Okay,
If
any
this
other
money goes back to
discussion?
the general fund, and we're saying that it can't be used for other purposes, if that's what I'm hearing, so therefore it's money that just ends up in limbo.
So, gentlemen, let me see if I can bring some clarity to this. The union contract requires a certain expenditure per individual, with the exception of the new dispatcher outfitting, which I put in to make sure that we have a new dispatcher outfitted correctly. Okay. When you look at a 5-year average, Mr. Burt, sure, some years there's probably going to be money left over, and it's going to vary. If that money is not used at the end of the year, it sits in the dispatch budget, and at the end of the year, when the finance director closes out the budget, all those unused funds presumably get put into the general fund. No, they may not use money outlined in the dispatch uniform account for other purposes other than uniforms. I hope that cleared it up.
Go ahead, Bob.
Let me take a stab at this. So the way I understand this is the new dispatcher outfitting was added. It's not required. It's not union. So your motion is to go to 2050. Sounds to me like you could go to 2100, cut the 500 out, because it doesn't need to be there. It's not required. It solves the problem.
The only one that I see is required are the 6 positions,
the two-
union
correct.
dispatch, $1,500.
Correct. So the 500 was added.
That's essentially correct, gentlemen.
Okay, any further discussion?
Then we can adjust my motion to change that line to 2100.
Gentlemen, if you do that, I'm not going to have enough money to outfit a new dispatcher.
Okay, who was Bob's second to his motion? Steve, you were, right? Steve?
Steve, you second.
You
Yes,
second?
second.
You agree to the
I agree.
change? Do you want to second his
Yes.
2100? Okay. The new motion that we're dealing with is to change line 680 to $2,100. Do we need to have any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
No.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planche?
No.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell? Tom Bell?
Sorry, on mute. No.
John Burt?
No.
Brian Black?
No.
And I'll vote yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion fails. Okay, let's move on. 700 series.
Yeah, I have a question on 740. We've got a budget of 2019 as 2,500. The same for 2020. 2019 we expended 552. To date, we've expended none of the 2020. And I'm wondering why we need to keep that so high. And I would like to hear some discussion, and then I would make a motion based upon that discussion.
Did you hear the
So
question,
the-
Chief? Yeah. Go ahead, Chief.
So the machinery and equipment line item is used to upgrade and make improvements depending on what needs we have in dispatch at the time. So those are going to fluctuate based off of what equipment has broken or needs to be upgraded or needs to be repaired. I'm not sure that all the billing has caught up yet, and we have some outstanding bills coming in from two-way. So you're making assessments and assumptions based off of incomplete financial year, and I would not make any changes to that. It is level funded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Level funded or not, 2019 spent $552 against a $2,500 budget.
John?
And you can't say that that's behind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, John, I was wondering if John Bird has a 5-year average available to us on that.
He's checking.
John's not
You waiting for me?
Yeah. 5-year average. Do you have the 5-year average? Line 740.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know you
That's
wanted.
okay.
I'm getting it, yeah. 740?
Yeah. And this is for machinery and equipment? Yes.
$39.47.
39.47.
$3,947.
Yes, yes.
We did have to do the dispatch concept. Yeah, that was good.
Seems a little high. What's that?
Did he come up with an average? What was that average again, John? It's 5?
3,947. I think that's a little high though. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Something on
He's checking again.
Equipment and maintenance, equipment and hardware, is that it?
It's under, no, it's machinery and equipment.
Doesn't make sense.
What line number?
Line 740.
It's 3,522. Machinery and equipment.
Okay.
Wait a second. Yep, that's right. I'm sorry, I delayed you.
That's okay, John. Appreciate it. We all set on machinery and equipment? He came up with 3,522 as a 5-year average.
Okay.
For 740.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Well, that's great. Are you going to bump me up a little? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Little levity. Little levity.
Hey, Chief, we're
Keep
smiling.
level funded, gentlemen. I'm good to go.
We're smiling.
Okay, 800 series.
This, 820,
810.
810.
810,
810,
0. Very little is ever spent in that line.
You're on late to 810, travel and meetings, no money spent?
Yep.
Yeah, so gentlemen, please understand with the early restrictions relative to COVID-19, and before any online training could be offered, we were in a holding pattern. A lot of classes were canceled. A lot of officers and dispatchers could not go to training this year. As everybody kind of evolved and matured through the COVID-19 crisis, online classes and training became available, were made available. So that's why there simply was not a lot of travel and meetings occurring, okay? And that's the reason why, because everything was shut down. With COVID-19 on the horizon, again, I'm with Amy. I simply don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to speculate that we'll probably be in this for a while. So there it is, and we level funded that because we just don't know if what I'm reading in the news is correct, and they have two companies now that have 90% or greater vaccinations. That's certainly a game changer, and it could be that we all get vaccinated against this and life gets back to normal sooner rather than later. Gentlemen, it's completely up to you at this point. You make the call.
Make a motion to reduce the line to $1,000.
Was that, John? Motion to what?
Travel and meetings, reduce it to $1,000.
Second.
Still too high.
Any further discussion? The motion is reduce line 810 from $1,500 to $1,000, which was used back in 2019, and only $419.46 were spent. And this year, there's been no money spent. Any more discussion or anything? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Motion is to reduce line 810, travel and meetings, to $1,000. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planche?
Yes.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And myself, John McDonald, votes yes. Unanimous. That line is now reduced to $1,000. Okay, anything else on the 800 series?
Yes.
We do the same thing to 820 and reduce that line to by $500 to 2,000, which is 2019 budget as well.
Okay, is there a second to Steve Johnson's motion? Second? Anyone second?
I didn't, what was the motion?
The motion was to reduce line 820, $500 to $2,000 for, which is the same approved budget for 2019.
Second.
John? Here's the average, 244.
Okay, discussion?
John,
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on.
may I say something?
Just a second, please.
no, let him, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you. So training is a little bit different. Professional development, that's the training line. I know what the conventional wisdom is. Gee, if you can't go anywhere for training, then we should reduce that line as well. But what happened with COVID-19, and as we evolved, online training courses became very popular as the only method for training, and they actually were pretty good. There is an expense to online training. It's not free. With dispatch, they have very little opportunity other than right now online training. And this is a hedge against liability issues. Having trained and qualified personnel is critically important. $2,500 is not that much money for dispatch training. I would strongly recommend that you gentlemen not to reduce this line, especially going into some unknowns, and one of the unknowns is the COVID-19 environment. We simply don't know what's going to happen. Again, your call. Thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you, Chief. John?
I have a question. Do you have any new employees that haven't been trained, or you anticipate having new employees that have to be trained?
We have one new dispatcher, a part-time dispatcher that's coming on. They're going to need to be trained. That was the reason for the additional money in the dispatcher uniform line item. And then I've got to maintain the proficiency of my communication specialists. The dispatch job, gentlemen, is very difficult, and often it is the first person that somebody in distress reaches when they're calling to report a fire or a medical emergency or a police emergency. And I can't, it's a very stressful job. I can't emphasize that enough. I know I could not do that job, and I would just like you to keep that in the back of your mind. I'm trying to provide a very good police department to the citizens here in Wolfeboro. Training is critically important to that, and making sure that we can answer these calls correctly is very important. And I will let you know just one last thing, that when I do not have well-trained employees, then this is where the police commission gets bombarded with citizen complaints. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
I want you to understand something here. I appreciate if you have a need. I don't need a long novel in an explanation. Sometimes my questions could be answered with a yes or no. So my question was, do you have anybody right now that has to be trained because they're brand new? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
How many?
One.
Okay, what's the supervisor's job besides answering the phones and doing a great job? You got a person named as a supervisor. Aren't they supposed to be partially training the new people?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, over the years, my 5-year average shows it's been in education and training, $244, and this is based upon actual expenditures reported.
Is that line 820, John?
Mr. Burt, that may be correct, but if you remember years past, the training dispatch for the budget, the training budget for dispatch was $250 for the entire dispatch.
Thank you.
Matt, did you have a question?
No, I just had a comment. So they're fielding 55,000 calls a year out of dispatch, and my experience, and I was an APCO member for a long time, and went to a lot of meetings and went to a lot of seminars on dispatch and how to do it. And the training is pretty critical. So training is really critical, and I would hate to skimp on the training because of that. Techniques change, and what we're finding as this evolves is that you can do more and save lives with a highly trained dispatcher, and it changes as things evolve. It's not just that you get trained once and then you can do the job for the rest of your life. There has to be updates. So I would hate to skimp. I'm just saying I would hate to skimp on the training.
I agree with you, Brian. However, well, I wanted to say this. The people in the dispatch, as far as my relationship with them, it's a little bit more than most of yours, because I have to ask them for tracking down checks that are not cash. But anyhow, they're doing a very fine job. I have nothing and no qualms there. I think you're over budgeting here.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing now, we'll do a roll call vote on the motion, line 820, professional development, to cut that amount to $2,000, which is $500 less than the request. Any questions? Seeing none, Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planche?
No?
Bob Mulholland?
No.
Tom Bell?
No.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And myself votes yes. 1, 2, 3. Motion passes. Line 820 is now $2,000. Okay, that's it on the communication budget. Just a quick question for the finance director. Will you make new copies of this for our books, which shows the changes? Excellent, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the police department budget. A 100 series.
Hey, John?
Yes, sir.
I have a question on part-time wages, 117. I know we have no input whatsoever as far as what the officers make as far as payroll. Do we have some input on part-time wages? Because it's I just think it's another jump, and I'm wondering why. If we have some say in that, I would make a motion.
Did you hear the question, Chief?
I did. So I think what the jump you're referring to is because we have determined the need for a juvenile services officer for the police department. And that juvenile services officer will liaise with the courts and will do juvenile prosecutions and serve in that capacity. And we want that as essentially a permanent part-time position. That's the increase that you're seeing. That has to be a special officer relative to his or her ability to prosecute those types of cases, to handle those types of cases. And that isn't something that's typically done by a younger officer.
So is it a prosecutor or is it an officer?
One last thing, the other jump in there is for the seasonal traffic control officer that we have downtown that actually returned quite a return on our investment this year and was greeted with much fanfare by the community. So that's the reason for that jump, gentlemen.
Thanks, Chief.
It's also everything is listed. If you look on the back of that sheet, I'm showing on page 4, you'll see it all broken down, and all of that information is there for you.
Thanks, Chief. I would like to make a motion on this line.
Okay.
What is this?
I'd like to make a motion to change the amount from 110,560 to 98,000.
How much is that dropping?
I don't know.
How much?
Take it down to what, Steve?
98. It's easy math.
12,560, right? that your motion?
Yes.
Okay, is that going to be on the bottom line of the police department budget?
What line is this now?
117.
117.
Is that your motion, Steve, to reduce the
That is the motion.
police department budget by $12,560?
$12,000 in that line is far too much, gentlemen.
Too bad. It's my motion.
Okay, we've got a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
This is Tom Bell. Why?
I just want to add something. I'm disappointed in this other prosecutor position. This past county budget, we added a full-time prosecutor in the county attorney's office to handle domestic violence cases for the entire county. And what I was hoping, which doesn't seem to be reflected here, that would free up our prosecutor, our part-time prosecutor, to do some other time to focus on other cases. And it doesn't make any sense to me with approximately 50 or 60 cases. I could go up and find out from the court exactly how many cases went in there, that we spend this type of money for a juvenile prosecutor. I don't know of any other town in this county that has a juvenile prosecutor. And again, I'm disappointed in this because I think at least go another year, let the full-time prosecutor of the county take over all the domestic violence cases and the cases, the serious cases, where someone can go to jail for more than a year that happens in Wolfeboro. The prosecutor we have does a great job, but he can't send anyone to jail for more than a year. Okay, he does violations and misdemeanors. The county attorney's office, it handles felonies. And if these are complex cases that involved child pornography and these other serious matters, serious assault matters, those should be handled by the county attorney's office in any case. That's all I got to say. Thanks. Any other discussion?
Yes, John.
Go ahead.
John, I agree with you, and I think the 12,000 is just a bit much. I would reduce this line by the $8,323.20 to eliminate the part-time juvenile service officer, or at least reduce the bottom line by that amount of money. And so for this motion, I would vote no, and then I would make another motion to reduce it by $8,323.20. So, thank you.
Steve, you want to move forward with your current motion?
I do.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Want to cut out the downtown guy to the parking? I don't that one.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that person. I don't know who that was. Okay, the current motion, Steve, you correct me if I'm incorrect, is to reduce the bottom line of the police department budget by $12,560.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Steve, your motion is that
It basically was to get it back to a 2020 approved budget. We haven't even expended that amount yet. We may by the end of the year. So the logic behind that was that, to mirror basically the 220.
okay,
The
so
budget 220.
there was no other specific reason for the difference between the 8,000
No,
and the 12?
just get it to something that was reflective of that, as well as, to John's point, this whole other stuff.
Ms. Finance Director, Ms. Finance Director, is that figure that Steve is using, is that close to including Social Security and all that other stuff? No. Would it be more or less? Well, it's going to come out of the bottom line itself, but there's other sufficient funds, additional funds that would be in there? Okay. Okay, anyone else want to say anything or state anything? Chief, do you have anything to say?
No, gentlemen, I don't. I think you know where I stand on this. I think this is a critical position for the Wolfeboro Police Department. John, I certainly understand your position and respect it, but I don't think you have a total appreciation for what the county attorney's office will and won't do. We have 2 high schools in Wolfeboro, and we get saddled, whether we want it or not, we get saddled with a lot of juvenile cases. Thank you.
Okay,
John, can I ask
Yes,
a
sir.
question? In terms of the juvenile cases, are most of them originating in the high schools? Or are they originating elsewhere? And if they originate in the high school, are we prosecuting those cases involving juveniles from other towns that attend the high school?
So it's difficult. I don't have figures on that, Matt, but what my gut tells me is yes, a lot of those cases do originate not just in the high school, but in the, I'll call it the middle school complex or the high school, middle school complex. And when they occur in Wolfeboro, we have jurisdictional responsibility, even if the citizen or the student is, say, from New Durham or Ospey or Brookfield or from wherever they're coming.
Okay, but now those prosecutions are not under this line, are they?
Yes. Yes, they would be. Yes, we would deal with that. So let me explain how it was done in the past, and that might give you gentlemen a little bit better understanding. So we had a school resource officer full-time up at the high school. At that time, it was Officer Llewellyn. And he was really essentially wearing 2 hats. One was the SRO hat. The second was the juvenile services or the juvenile prosecutor hat. So when he left the school, whether the case originated in the school district or not, when he left the school, we were not reimbursed for his time. By keeping an officer at the school, in this case, Mary, Officer Swift, who is, or correction, Officer Devine, who's up at the school right now, it's the replacement for the SRO. She is reimbursed for her full time at the school, her full 8 hours. So it seemed to make sense to have a part-time certified officer handle those prosecutions because it did 2 things. One, it kept the school safer. It made the school safer because instead of breaking loose an officer from the school to have to do prosecutions in family court or district court, we're now keeping that officer at the school for longer periods of time. And it allowed the officer to get into some of these family issues that we're seeing, to provide the services that are needed through the courts or through other type of venues, or perhaps the court juvenile officer or the non-judicial punishment services that are offered also through the court. So it seemed to make sense.
So, okay, just to clarify, so what you're saying is you'll get a larger reimbursement for the SRO because the SRO will be in the school for more hours?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Chief, can you provide us with that agreement that says that, please?
We will certainly be happy to provide you the agreement, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any discussion? Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's Tom Bell.
Yeah.
From what I gather from this motion, we're talking about eliminating $8,000 from the police department budget, and that takes into account all of the things we've discussed, or just this one issue of the SROs and the prosecutors for juvenile cases?
This is, thanks for the question, Tom. This is going to be, the motion is to reduce the bottom line of the police department budget by $12,560. If they want to, if the police commission or the chief decides that they're really dedicated to that, and they are free to choose to fund that by the available funding that they have.
Excuse me, John.
Yes.
The motion is not the bottom line, it's line 117.
We can't cut salary lines. Hiring, firing, and setting salaries are set by the police commission.
Do they realize it also affects
Mr. Wood, Commissioner Wood, do you agree with that?
John, I think your understanding is correct that and Mr. Wood is right here next to me agreeing that you can affect the bottom line of the budget, but salary lines are set by the Wolfeboro Police Commission, and he's in agreement, as is Chairman O'Brien, or Mr. O'Brien, Commissioner O'Brien. Co-chair.
No disrespect for Mr. O'Brien. I didn't realize that he'd been elected chairman.
No, I'm sorry. That was a slip. That was co-chair. My bad. I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
You got the wrong guy, John. You got the wrong guy.
I have a question here, and I'll probably show my ignorance, but anyhow, it's there. We can't change the pay scale of any of these people that are working. So the supervisory and the full-time, there's nothing we can change there. But how about part-time? Can we sort of modify it, say, well, instead of working so many hours, they work less hours, and therefore we can say in that part-time line, that's where we can take the money out. John, I don't understand why this can't
It's just historically, it's always been, my understanding is hire, fire, and set compensation.
I beg your pardon?
They have the authority for the police department to hire, fire, and set compensation.
Don't we have some kind of say as far as numbers?
On the bottom line.
On the bottom line only. What about numbers of people, numbers of personnel?
On the bottom line.
On the bottom line, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's, if someone wants to correct me, that's the way it's been interpreted for the years I've been here, and I think the commissioners, do you agree with that interpretation, or?
That is absolutely correct. You are correct, John.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Paul. It's section 105C4, duties and responsibilities of the police commissioners to appoint personnel, including police officers, staff, constables, superior officers as they deem necessary, and to fix persons' compensation. That's what it says in the rules and regs.
So was my statement of hire, fire, and set compensation fair? Okay.
can I call the question?
Since 1959.
Okay, anything else? Now, Steve, do you want to stay with the 117, or do you want to do with the bottom line? As I said, I don't think we can cut the 117 line.
Do the bottom line.
Then the bottom line. If it's got to be that, it's got to be that.
Yeah, let them take it on the bottom line.
And I'd like to hear it from, you know, if that's actually true, what Paul just read, I'd like to see a copy of that. Because I
It's on the town website, Steve.
Just a second,
It's on the town
please.
website.
Just a second, please.
Hold on, Paul.
I would like to see, I understand that all the salaries are negotiated apart from us, but I thought as far as like part-time wages for a person, we had some say. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it in fact is that we don't have a say, except in the bottom line, I want to see that in writing.
Okay. Paul, can you give us the RSA for that statute, please?
Sure. Section 105C, :4. It's on the town website. I'll go dig the rest of it up and text it over to you, John.
Good. Thank you.
Right, and that's a state RSA, right, passed by the legislature?
Correct.
Okay.
So yes, John, I will go to the bottom line.
And the second is agreed to that? Okay. The motion is to reduce the bottom line, if I can find the number here.
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, that number also includes the part-time traffic control officer downtown. That was, to keep that in mind as well.
It's my understanding that, from talking to the finance director, that there should be, by taking that amount of money out of there, shouldn't hurt the other positions in that particular line. Is that correct?
It's only 8,000. Only taking that out. It's 12.
Right, the 12,000, what was it, Steve, 12,000?
It's actually $12,560 is the correct number.
There still will be sufficient amounts of money in there to cover the summer person, the summer part-time person?
No, that's not correct.
That would be eliminated then? The summer.
Yes, it would.
Hold on, Chief, please. I'm sorry.
We can't hear the finance director speaking.
Hold on, please. Just so for clarity, if that full amount, the $12,560 is removed from the bottom line, will that eliminate the summertime person?
It does not eliminate the person. However, it does take away some of the funds.
Yes or no? Shake the head, yes. Shake the head, no.
It does not eliminate the position, it takes away about $4,000 from that position.
Okay.
People saving money, same thing. Tomatoes, tomatoes.
You want to keep going with the 12,000? You want to modify your motion to 8,323?
It's going to be a second motion. Tucker's going to make one. Just reduce it to 8,500.
Yeah, I'll change it to 8,500 reduction.
Okay, and the second, does the second agree to the change?
Second.
Okay. The motion has been modified to now to be a reduction of the bottom line of $8,500. Any discussion on that question or that motion?
So it seems to me that the reason behind the motion is because we don't, there's a disagreement with decisions that the police commission has made about staffing and personnel and salaries. And it just looks like a backdoor way of going outside the separation and the delineation of authority between the budget committee or the delineation or trying to an end run around the police commission's authority.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
It's the only vehicle we have available to us. The police commission can hire 50 people if they want within the constraints of the amount of money.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Tom Bell to echo. I think that was Matt. I just haven't heard enough evidence as to why we want to make this reduction. It hasn't resonated with me, so that's my feeling.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, the motion is to reduce the bottom line of the police department budget by $8,500. This would be a roll call vote. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lohman?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planchi?
No.
Bob Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell?
No.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And myself, I vote yes. Motion passes 7-2.
John?
Yes, John.
I would like to have this subject revisited later on, if that's possible, because there's questions in my mind And I think of other people here, their mind, what's legal, what we can do and what we can't do in this area.
Well, why don't we ask the finance director to have the town manager contact the town attorney, and we can run by the town attorney what our authority is. Again, over the past
I appreciate
years, that's been my interpretation.
Yeah.
If you want to revisit this particular line item, you'll have to bring it up and get a second to revisit it, as it's already been reduced on the bottom line. You're going to have to bring it up again to put the money back in, it's put back in.
Well,
because right now it's already been reduced to 8,500.
Everything is possible for revisiting that we do. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I don't want to belabor the subject here.
So, Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, sir. Thank you for recognizing me. If there is going to be a request for town council, could you please generate a piece of paper that clearly defines what you're looking for?
What the interpretation is as far as...
If you could write that down and send it over to Jim Pinio, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. I'm sure that question's probably been answered before, and there's probably something tucked away in a file somewhere.
You probably. I think what we want to do, John, is we want to get clear and not have, a kind of a, no, that's what I really didn't want to hear. I want to hear something else. I want a clear question, and then we'll get you a clear answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, we all set on the 100.
Are we still at 100, John?
Yeah.
I hate to be bringing this up again, but I'll be the guy. On line 150, other compensation, we're up 264%. There's a $62,000 increase, and there is town agreement and so on and so forth. And I'm just wondering, with all the other overtime and everything else in this budget, what is it that necessitates going from a $23,000 budget last year? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
You want it?
So I would like some kind of an explanation why our 220 budget is at 23,504. We've expended 14,700, and now we're up to department request and approved by the town manager and the board of selectmen of 85,000. And I can read the lines here as far as like any PBA and so on and so forth. What the heck? Where does $62,000 come from, and why is it that we have to come up with that? It's holiday pay and everything else. Don't you guys already get holiday pay? I mean, and maybe the police commissioner can answer that question for me.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. Basically, we did the same thing in dispatch. As you noticed back then, that one went up too. We took the guidance from the town manager and placed certain items where they actually should be on his guidance. And that was the holiday pay, which usually come out of hourly wages. There's a whole list there: shift differential, length of stipend.
Length of service stipend.
Yeah, police education. It's all listed right there. Compensatory buyout, that which they get, and the union. So we shifted a lot of the money from the hourly wages, took it out of there, and put it into other compensation. But you got to remember, they had a 4-year contract. So a lot of that money that shifted over to other compensation, yes, there was an increase due to the union agreement that was already approved in 2019.
So if that's the case, if they're shifting around, show me where there's a decrease, some kind of a partial decrease somewhere else.
$11,871.
How much?
So if you go up to starting in line 112 under police department, you'll see it there. You'll see it in the supervisor's salaries. You'll see it in hourly wages, and then it goes into other locations. Steve, what drove the train on this was 2 years ago when the town manager, our new town manager, was coming in. The union contract had been negotiated by the outgoing town manager, and there was a lot of confusion because we also had that town manager retire, we had the finance director retire, and there wasn't a lot of transition time. And our new town manager, Mr. Pinio, was left with trying to figure out this incredible sum of money that was negotiated under the union contract. And to be quite honest with you, he did yeoman's work on trying to figure it out, but nothing was broken down, and it wasn't budgeted. It wasn't budgeted like that. So he directed this move, if you will, shifting of funds. And it makes total sense, and I understand it, I support it, I think it's the proper way to budget. So there was a shifting of funds from various line items into other compensation, which is where they need to be paid out of. In addition to that, exactly what the captain said, the union contract called for a 4% COLA. And so you see that also reflected. So that explains the increase, sir.
The actual union contract for this year is $49,000 and change for salaries, and I think it's 15 and change to equal up to $64,000 based on what was approved in the 2019 budget. So that money has to go somewhere. And this is kind of where it all went. And that's why the hourly wages doesn't show a huge decrease, because they did get their raises and increases based on the union agreement that was in the contract.
So yeah, I'm looking at that, and my fellow worker here, Bob, is showing me on the line 114 and 115, there's a 12,000 and a 13,000 reduction. So I can see that, but that's still, that only adds up to like 24. We're going to basically double that on this compensation. So yeah, I can see where you've taken shifting some things around, but then we're also, I'm seeing a big increase still, a $30,000 increase, if my math is right. So yeah, I understand that you're just that's just the way it is, and leave it alone.
I guess the other question is that roughly 30,000 that Steve was talking about, is that in fact the increase in the negotiated contract amount for the police officers?
I don't have the exact figure, but it sounds in that general ballpark.
Okay, so it's close enough for government work, is that what we're saying?
Yeah, the contract is.
That's it.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, 200 series.
Thank you, John.
$300 series.
Well, I'll be the guy again. On line 380, outside services, never mind, I see it.
$400 series. $500 series.
I have a question for you, Chief and Captain, on 610. I know general operating supplies is an up and down from year to year. What do you think is the vast swing? You go from 12,000 expenditure on 2019 to a 3,000 to date expenditure in 2020. Is there a way to get a closer metric than having it, I know it's level funding, but that 8,700, I mean, we just picked that out of a hat or what?
No, we don't kick anything out of the hat, sir. And that, a lot of that is due to increased training in firearms. That's bullets.
We have that covered. We have bullets coming up. We have some expenses that are going to be coming out of that line by the end of the year too. Bullets is especially going to be one of them. And that is a high cost.
Yeah, and I think you're also looking at the fact that maybe not all the billing is up to date.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
500.
Yeah, bullets are expensive though.
Scarce.
Scarce.
Yes.
John?
Yes, John.
I'm sorry, I missed something at the 435.
Okay.
Rentals and leases.
35. What are we at?
435. The question I have here, and the contract you have on this multi-year rental, well, let's see, lease purchase, is it not?
It's a 5-year lease, but why it went up a little is due to the fact we added 2 tasers to that contract.
But that's what it's really titled as, a lease purchase, yes. Now, do you have...
Leases.
I beg your pardon?
They are leases, the tasers.
Yeah. Okay, question I have, what would happen, do you have an escape clause in this? That is, let's say that this budget is approved, but the 2022 budget goes to the default budget. In that case, then you can't pay the lease. Do you have an escape clause in the lease?
I believe we do in that contract. I don't have the contract in front of me.
Would you take a look?
Because what happens is that if we don't pay the tasers, we give back the tasers.
Well, take a look at it, please, and let us know if you have.
So, John, generally speaking, with a default budget, if it's a signed contract, which it is, we're under a legal obligation to pay it. So what would happen is the default budget would be the default budget, and then the finance officer and town manager and others, department heads would go through. We would figure out what are our obligations, and we would add that money to the default budget. So it'd be the default budget plus, you know, $250 or $3,000, whatever the contract called for. And I see a couple of selectmen nodding their heads north to south. Selectman Murray, would you like to verify that answer, ma'am?
Yeah, you're right about the contracts, but the contracts would have been included in that default budget. That's the only difference in what you're saying. They would have already, when we go do what a default budget, any contract that was multi-year would already be in that default budget.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's already baked in.
I asked a very simple question, and I sort of like to have it a yes or no. Is there an escape clause in that agreement? If you, I'd like you have, I appreciate if you'd take a look at it and let us know, okay?
Yes, there is, John.
Thank you.
Yes, we will.
And yes, we will.
Okay. 600.
Go back up to
600.
600? I don't know. I think it's 600.
Yeah, 600.
Yeah. I'm waiting for 680 to come up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're at 610.
Chief, are we going to be buying the body armor? What is it? Lifespan is 10 years or something, or what is that? You know?
It's 5 years, Mr. Chairman.
So, did we buy 6 last year, or?
We buy body armor just about every year.
Yeah, I think last year it was 5.
Okay. Uh, 700 series. .800 series. And that's it on the police department budget. Do you have a new number for us, by any chance, for the police department? $1,861,000. Chief, just a quick question on your increases. It seems to be due to the contract and then the increase in the retirement. Everything else is pretty much reasonably funded, levelly funded from last year.
That's what we tried to do, Mr. Chairman. We tried to do that to stay in guidance with what the town manager was asking us to do and what we thought the budget committee would want to see.
I appreciate that, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
If I could just say one thing to the budget committee, I really appreciate all the hard work that you gentlemen are doing in this, and I thought it was a very good process, and I appreciate it, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And
Thank you, Chief.
I don't know what commissioners are with you, but thank you guys for attending and stuff. I appreciate it too.
Thank you.
Because you're behind me, and I'm sorry. I can't see you guys, so.
John, I got a few comments.
Yes, John, go ahead.
Chief, appreciate all the effort you do, and you have some very fine people here. But I'm concerned, for example, in several areas. For example, in 2010, if you compare the 2010 budget with the 2020 budget, that's an increase of 60% in 11 years. And during the same time, the general fund portion of the town's operating budget has gone up 34%. That's one area. We're very well funding the top department, I think. Secondly, the number of people in the department has increased. For example, in '96, it was 11 full-time, 0 part-timers. This is '96. In 2018, it's 12 full-time and 2 part-timers. In 2019, 13 full and 3 part-timers. I don't have data for 20 because we really didn't have a finance office. In 2021, this budget coming up, there's 15 full-timers and 3 part-timers. So there's more people. And then again, on vehicles, back in 1997 and before, there were 7 vehicles in the department. Now I think you have 11, is that correct?
Well, we have 9 right now, Mr. Burt, and we are trying to get back up to 11, but we have 9 right now, sir.
Okay, thank you. I know that the amount of miles that we have to patrol has not changed in a number of years.
John, if I can just jump in here for a second. We don't have any requests right before us right now for a police vehicle. I think maybe you want to wait till we get that request on a warrant article. Do you think that would be more of appropriate time to?
Okay, yes, but I just wanted a sort of overall view of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, John. Chief, did you want to respond to anything? Are you all set? Or?
I just wanted to say that I do understand Mr. Burt's concerns, and I am trying the very best I can do to manage the police department budget, spend the money that I'm provided every year by the citizens, and try to keep expenses down. And so please just bear with me as we do that. But I do, Mr. Burt, I do understand your concerns. I do take them to heart. I know the commission does as well, but I do appreciate you bringing it to my attention.
Okay, thank you, Chief. We're not going to do any consideration of minutes at this time. Any other business, any comments from the public or anything like that out there? Leanne, do you see anybody on your computer, phone call or anything?
No, I don't see anyone. My
Okay.
computer. Well, there is.
How about the finance director? Is there anything you'd like to share with us from the town manager or anything? Okay. Okay, I guess we're all set for the evening. Let's do a motion to...
So moved.
Okay. Second. There'll be a motion to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none. Bob Tuffer?
Yes.
Bob Lumen?
Yes.
Steve Johnson?
Yes.
Matt Planchy?
Yes.
Paul Mulholland?
Yes.
Tom Bell?
Yes.
John Burt?
Yes.
Brian Black?
Yes.
And John McDonough votes yes. And how about Mr. O'Brien?
Absolutely.
And Mrs.